Talking South Carolina football with Will Gunter from the all-new Early Game 107.5 The Game. And, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel right here where we discuss college football coast to coast with some of the best bloggers and broadcasters like Will in college football. Okay, a trip to Kyle Field is never easy, and the Aggies are playing better football after that meltdown in the second half at the Rose Bowl against UCLA in week 1. Okay, they're not playing perfect football. They needed overtime to defeat Arkansas. We have yet to find out how good Arkansas really is, but it's a win in the SEC. So got a couple 3-1 teams going at it right now. Will, in regards to what South Carolina brings, and you mentioned Jake Bentley's successes statistically, but his issues in the red zone at times and missing a few open guys. Texas A&M, despite bouncing back, obviously is susceptible to the big play. Their pass offense or their pass defense not looking the best against the likes of Josh Rosen, who's one of the best in the business, and Austin Allen. So you comfortable with Bentley making some big plays and the offense getting out of this recent funk against an Aggies defense that can give up a lot of yards, a lot of big plays?
Well, again, am I comfortable with it to an extent? But I think Jake Bentley's got to play one of his better games of the year, and he's fully capable of it. There's passes that have just barely missed. You go back to the Kentucky game, and on the opening drive, or not the opening drive, but the second drive there after a turnover, he's got KC Crosby wide open in kind of on an out route for a first down, and he just misses him, just flat out throws it high and right. Those are the kind of passes he's got to make. He's got the playmakers. You're right. Texas A&M, they've shown that they're willing to give up yards and points. They've played 2 Power 5 conference teams, and they've given up 40 points or more. They've been more than willing to give it up a little bit to Nichols and Lafayette, Louisiana. So with all that being said, this is an offense, this is a defense that South Carolina can have success against if they can execute properly. If they take care of their stuff and not so much what Texas A&M does, but if they take care of South Carolina's problems, I think they can have success on Saturday.
We talk South Carolina football with Will Gunter from the all-new Early Game. So check us out each and every week on my YouTube channel. Subscribe right there if you love South Carolina football. Just if you want to keep track of course, the SEC, which arguably the best conference in college football. I can't think we can say that definitively anymore, but certainly still the power broker that it is. So obviously, if you want to keep up with college football in general, we kick it around here each and every week with Will. And it appears also with Texas A&M that they've hit a groove offensively, 50 points against Arkansas in overtime, big scoring outputs recently. Kellen Mond looked awful his first outing against UCLA in relief, and he has certainly bounced back to play much better football. Are you comfortable with the defensive matchup? What did the defense show you last week? The defensive front with a big effort in week 1 against North Carolina State, maybe not so much the last few weeks.
Well, let's go back to that very opening comment you just made. That's Mark Rogers making that comment on the SEC, the best football conference in the country. I don't know if I would agree with you on that right now. That's a whole nother segment show and everything we do. The Texas A&M offense, I think, is very interesting because you had Nick Starkel was the starting quarterback for the UCLA game, and they go out and they put up 38 points. They look very good in doing so. And then Kellen Mond comes in, and we know what happened. They blew the lead. They only scored 6 points. How much credit do you give Kellen Mond against Nichols, an FCS opponent? Louisiana's defense is 127th in the nation. That again, not a whole lot there. And Arkansas's defense is probably below average. South Carolina, statistically speaking, is the best defense that Texas A&M's played. Texas A&M's not played a very good defensive team. I watched UCLA and Memphis. UCLA's defense would give up yards and points. So this is a different I'm not saying South Carolina is a top 15, top 20 defense nationally. Let's be very clear about that. But this is a better defense than Kellen Mond has played against. And I think that could have a role Saturday afternoon. And so I'm interested to see how South Carolina chooses to attack Kellen Mond. I think what you'll see is the same strategy they used against Steven Johnson in Kentucky. They didn't let Benny Snell beat them in the Kentucky game. Trevon Williams, Keith Ford are guys who can beat you on Saturday, take away the run, and play soft coverage. Make Kellen Mond complete 7, 8, 9, 10 passes in a row to move Texas A&M down the field. I got a feeling that's how they try to play him on Saturday.
All right, talking to South Carolina football with Will Gunter from the all-new Early Game 107.5 The Game. Again, the long-form conversations you can catch on iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. Just search Mark Rogers TV, and we talk the SEC up as well. And before we get to the conference and the nation, Will, 9 points on the road. I know that that's a pretty substantial line. I think that the Gamecocks might be a decent cover here as they go on the road to Texas A&M.
We talked about it this morning on the radio show. My pick, for what it's worth, is A&M 28-24. That's what I picked. With that being said, I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I could see a scenario where South Carolina's defense cannot get off the field on third down. They can't tackle. They give up big runs. And South Carolina goes in there and gets blown out by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I can see a scenario where South Carolina's defense is better than we anticipated, stops Texas A&M's run game. South Carolina's offense finally clicks. The fans turn on Kevin Sumlin, and South Carolina wins this by double digits. I'm going to go with the close game. I put the score, my score prediction right around the over-under total, which is 50.5. So I went 28-24 Texas A&M, but it's hard to figure out what's going to happen. These are two teams. We said on the radio, these are 2 teams that are 3-1. And if you talk to the fan bases, you would think that they're 1-3.
And it's difficult to predict against Vegas. Even though 9 seems like a lot, it could be an extremely competitive game. It could be a 2 or 3 point game. And then there's always that dreaded tack-on touchdown, backdoor cover type of deal that burns you in the end. That doesn't mean a whole lot. But it's Texas A&M hosting South Carolina, a couple teams that are both 3-1 but desperately need wins in the SEC. Especially if you look at Texas A&M trying to just look respectable, keep the job in place for Kevin Sumlin next year. For South Carolina, it's still the possibility, despite the loss to Kentucky, of competing in the SEC Eastern Division.